Dear students, we discussed liberty, equality, and justice from the perspective of liberalism, Marxism, and feminism. We also had a discussion on the concept of justice, and we've seen how it should be seen from liberalism and Marxism. And today, we are going to discuss about no, justice from the point of view of feminism. This is going to be the last talk uh, from the unit second of your first year first sem syllabus. This topic is going to give you a kind of total picture and also uh, deeper and deeper understanding of the concept of justice, especially from the point of view of feminist perspective. So let us have a discussion. Let us try to understand the concept of justice from feminist perspective. We've already learned about feminism when we looked at the concept of liberty and also the concept of equality. And this topic will give you the entire picture of the concept of equality, and it is also a kind of integration of the concepts of liberty and equality. Let us have a discussion on this topic. Yes. So justice, feminist perspective. There is a lot of discrimination between men and women in the matter of allocation of benefits and burdens. So when it comes to benefits like education, health, property, with regard to these benefits, women have been denied and women have been given lesser access to these uh, very much needed benefits. And when it comes to burdens, she has to bear more burden than men. She has to bear the children, she has to look after the children, she has to look after home. If she is a professional or she has to work outside home, she has to bear the burdens of both of family and his career or the work outside her home. So that is how historically in any society, cutting across any society, cutting across societies, a woman has been, bearing the unnecessary burden and also has been denied, access to so many benefits, and thereby many women have been suffering and lagging behind. Even though the modern world has seen many women, coming out of her home and doing wonders, but there are larger sections of women still being denied necessities and also bearing the burden more than man. So this is the experience of woman, and she has been uh, suppressed, and the principles of justice postulate not merely formal liberty and equality, but the transformation of those social conditions which obstruct the weaker and vulnerable sections from enjoying substantive, not just formal freedom and equality. So today we are discussing about the concept of justice and what the main principles of justice postulate. They postulate not merely formal liberty and equality. A formal liberty and equality is that by making certain changes in the existing law, by making certain incremental changes or bringing about certain reforms in the existing system, uh, the women's lot is sought to be improved. But the transformation of the social conditions is important, which are so entrenched. The social conditions are so entrenched against the status of women and against the benefit of the woman. So bringing about, transforming the social conditions are very important, because the social conditions that are there in any society do abstract uh, the no the especially the weaker and vulnerable sections from enjoying substantive freedom. Here the substantive freedom means she's having, really benefiting from the social conditions. So such conditions should be provided to women for her, freedom and equality. The changing the social conditions is very important. Not merely, bringing about certain laws, bringing about certain incremental changes, do not really benefit the woman. This is the main the understanding from the point of view of, justice. What feminists say? Feminism seeks to secure justice for women in all spheres of life: political, economic, and cultural sphere. Because in all these spheres, women has been suffering, and the factors, political, economic, and cultural factors, go beyond merely the, law and legal conditions, because until and unless these factors are improved, women cannot be expected to be on par with men. And therefore, uh, feminism seeks to secure justice for women in all spheres of life. Let us have a look at the cultural sphere. Social structure and cultural practices are replete with discrimination against women. uh, how social structure and cultural practices are intrinsically, work against the benefit of women, work against the lives of women, how they suffer. Many common social practices contain a cultural climate of male dominance in which women regularly experience shame, embarrassment, and vulnerability. So, the patriarchal system, you take any society, patriarchy is the principle, and in the patriarchy, male domination exists. It is very culturally and, socially is very strong. You take any social system, the social systems or the social organization is generally dominated by, men, and that leads to a lot of suffering to a woman on regular basis. And let us see an example like jokes. Most of the jokes, cracked by men, ridicule or sexualize women. You take any, jokes. Jokes are replete with, the uh, many things which are, so disparaging to women. Women are treated as a tool in any joke and humiliation of her condition. That shows how culturally deep rooted the discrimination against women. And take any abusive language. People generally use, in rural areas, in many areas, you take when abusive language is used that contains, feminist word or a kind of female oriented words. In Indian, take any Indian languages, if there is any abusiveness in that language, that basically or mainly pertains to a woman. Woman becomes the tool of an abusive language. And many a time we see men's attractive looks and voice are widely used in advertising, which tend to prejudice their dignity. Here, two angles are here. When women have more role in advertisements or in projecting anything, through her voice, it gives her, opportunity uh, to express herself, or to come out on her own, or to become, independent. These are providing, a lot of opportunities. But at the same time, when we look at the way the woman voice is exploited, the way her attractive voices, attractive looks are, exploited, especially in advertising, it shows, deep rooted prejudice, and it is a prejudice to their dignity. So here we have to understand, many people say it is giving her so much of opportunity, but at the same time, she's a tool in the hands of, advertising business. So that is how we should understand how woman is being projected, to advance the interests of the business. uh, and among Hindus and other religions, you take any religion for that matter, not only Hinduism, you take any religion, the cremation ceremony of the dead body of a person is to be performed by male. This happens so, so naturally, or so, so commonly. We observe that near human body, or when cremation is done, woman is generally not allowed to the place where, people are cremated. This is a practice which shows, deep rooted and extensive discrimination against women. And after, knowing the cultural sphere, how culture is very important, it is very deep rooted. Many people may not experience this kind of discrimination today, especially young women who are a single child to their parents. And also many a time it happens that they don't find, this kind of discrimination. But when you look at the larger picture outside the outside your home, when you look at the world, and if you know the cultural practices, in each and every cultural practice you will find a kind of, a discrimination against women. That should be, well observed. When you observe keenly, you will find the discrimination in cultural practices, in social and cultural practices. And political sphere. Apart from social and cultural barriers, women activists have largely focused their fight for welfare of women and the society at large, and less on their political career. So generally, many women so far have concentrated on, welfare of women. It is an opinion that they fought, less on political aspects. Only in the early and mid 20th century, because how why there has been less fight for political rights of women can be understood when we look at the facts. The fact, early in the only in the early and mid 20th century, women could get right to vote in America and Western Europe long after they established modern democratic governments. The revolution in, America happened in 1776, and in Britain it was in 1688, and in France the French Revolution took place in 1789. But the voting rights to women were given in, early 20th century, 1920s and 30s. So that much of late, that after long time, women were given, political rights. So it shows how, women have been women were denied basic political rights. Now women all over the world have won their political rights, but their actual power is far behind that of men. We often hear, if you take, Panchayat Raj elections, like, Mandal village or district, women, get elected to, Panchayat Raj offices, but when it comes to exercising power, it is their husbands who exercise the power. That we often see in many, villages or in many mandal headquarters and Jilla headquarters, even the woman gets elected, but her husband wields the power. That happens. Of course, you may experience a different picture where really women come out after being elected and exercise the power without depending on men. Such instances are there. But when we look at generally, or when we look at where most of the time we will find it is their husbands who exercise political power. That happens quite commonly. um, Now, coming to the economic sphere, it is in the economic sphere where there is a striking example of unjust distribution of benefits and burdens on women in the society. See, it is because they don't have any property rights, or by inheritance they don't inherit any property. If a woman comes out to take her share, it becomes a big issue in the family, and she may be ostracized. No, she may be ridiculed, or she may be disparaged in so many ways. So that happens when if she tries to assert her economic rights. So cultural and social practices are against her democratic rights. And unjust distribution of benefits and burdens on women in the society. Yes, now we have talked about it. And women not only do a lot of domestic work, their services towards childbearing and child rearing, etc., constitute real work. See, women get into jobs, but when it comes to childbearing, they have to leave their jobs and look after their children. If she has to continue in both the responsibilities of her career and at her home, she has to suffer a lot. If no, generally she finds a lot of inconvenience and a lot of suffering she has to undergo if she has to look after both the responsibilities. um, Even working women who make a substantial contribution to family income have to perform most of the services for which they never get credit. People generally think that it is their responsibility. Just because biologically she has to bear the children, that doesn't mean it is her natural work, it is her natural responsibility which she has to look after herself. It doesn't mean like that. you know and she don't get she doesn't get any extra credit, because everybody thinks that's quite common. It is her duty, it is her responsibility, as if it is she is responsible for bearing the children. It is not like that. So men should feel that it is their responsibility to share the burden of women. That should happen. Only then women can work outside home and also inside home, when her partner shares her burden, at least shares and gives credit to her more burden, more burdensome work. Women's larger contribution to well-being of men and other members of the family could be justified if it is made voluntarily. Here comes the question: if she really feels that her responsibility, and she voluntarily looks after her work outside home and inside home, then it won't be a problem. But problem arises when it is necessitated by the oppressive social conditions. So where she's not given, she's not looked at from the democratic value. And also when she is oppressed, or when she is ridiculed, when she doesn't get any recognition, or then the problem comes. The larger society of patriarchy sees women as a kind of a tool, or a kind of servitude. She looks at from the servitude. That gives a lot of problem. And when we discuss about the women conditions and how she has been subject to injustice. There is one famous scholar. Her name is Susan Muller Okin, an Australian scholar. She, and American scholar. Sorry, New Zealand and American scholar. She is a famous scholar, and she has, for the first time in 1989, has added the question of gender to the contemporary debate on justice. So the entire contemporary debate has been given, or has been made, more democratic when the question of gender is put into it. That is what Susan Muller Okin did. Uh, Her main objection to the liberal tradition is that the gender system has remained outside the sphere of justice. You take, any scholar, any political scholar, you find the justice spoken in terms of men, or for the benefit of men, because here the public private divide is very important. Why woman is excluded from the debate on justice? Because a woman is considered to be a part of family, which is a private affair. So generally, when a discussion takes place about justice, only men were included. Woman is excluded because she is part of family, she is part of man's life, and therefore it is private affair. But the way women being suppressed, women being dominated by men, it is also political. Whatever has been considered private is actually is political, because in the private life there is a lot of political aspect that takes place in terms of domination, in terms of suppression, in terms of inequality, in terms of liberty. you know Women is denied all these life, all these parts of life, and therefore whatever has been considered private is actually public. So the public and private divide, in which women are relegated to the household as private, is one of the major sources of injustice and inequality, because women has not been included in the debate on justice or equality. So that historically that injustice has been done to women. Now there is no private has become political with the emergence of feminism. And the Susan Mullah Rokin was the pioneering scholar in bringing about these important aspects of injustice. Analytical category. This is another important contribution from this great scholar, Susan Muller Oki. What do you mean by analytical category? See, when you discuss an issue, you take poverty or unemployment, you take up certain factors like the reason. If you want to discuss about the reason for poverty, you look at economic factors, social factors, and political factors. These factors, in this analytical category, you will miss an important issue of gender equality. How gender, how women have been suppressed, how women have been suffering, how they have been dominated. This important aspect is being missed when we have a discussion on reasons for poverty. So the what this great scholar says, Susan Mullah Rokin, that hereinafter, if you take an issue, when you discuss factors, different factors of the issue, this gender discrimination should become one of the analytical categories. Then you will understand the issue in more deeper way. That is what this analytical category says. So in her view, the basic unit of justice should be family. She says justice and equality in family is important. It needs to be addressed. So when we talk about justice and inequality in the society, but the important thing is the justice and inequality in family is also very important. So that should be addressed at the family level. And family as basic unit. In our view, the basic unit of justice should be family. She says justice and equality in family is important. It needs to be uh, addressed. So this is how we should understand. We have understood justice, feminist perspective from at cultural level, social and cultural level, political level, economic level, and also how it should become an analytical factor, how the injustice at the family level should be addressed. These are very important issues. This culminates our discussion on the political values, liberty, equality, and justice from the point of view of liberalism, Marxism, and feminism. So the so far, before the introduction of this section, in your current first semester system, there used to be a lot of discussion on equality, liberty, and justice from the point of that is how this important topic has been introduced, which is very important, and we should we should keep in mind the political values like liberty, equality, justice from the point of view of liberalism, Marxism, and feminism. So here comes the topic on justice from the point of view of feminism. So it is an understanding which is more broader and more deeper. Thank you very much.